Welcome to AdSpace. My name's Elise.
And I'm Jackson.
Each week, we'll be breaking down the most buzzworthy campaigns, social trends, and advertising news through the eyes of Gen Z.
With sharp analysis, authentic debates, and real audience insights, we'll unpack how Gen Z responds to the strategies shaping the industry today.
Let's get into it. All right, so we're coming off this episode today, the day after the Met Gala.
Yes.
Jackson, were you tapped into the fashion at the Met this year?
I wasn't as tapped in as I normally am. I feel like the only influencer that I would really get Met Gala content from was canceled. So I don't have a source anymore.
Unfortunate.
I think you could know who it is. But I'm waiting for Emma Chamberlain videos to come out. I'm pretty excited for those.
Oh, yeah. She was one of my favorite looks, I think, from the entire night. I was obsessed with her, painted dress moment. Yeah. It was fun. Did you have a favorite look?
Chase Infinity, I thought was sick.
Yes.
Hers was
stunning.
really great. And I didn't see it anywhere, which was it's kind of niche. It's kind of a niche pick.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I felt like people were on theme this year more than in past years. I think maybe it was just kind of fashion is art is a little more clear than other years.
Which made the people that were off theme even worse.
Really embarrassing.
For me. And they got clowned by Gen Z
Some of those guys
on
that
TikTok.
are just wearing a suit still, it's like
Ben Stiller.
It's not that hard.
Ben Stiller. What are you doing?
Yeah, but he didn't want to be there.
No, he wanted to be at the Knicks game. Anyways, we'll get into the episode. Welcome to the Ad Update, where we debrief the most impactful campaigns from the last week. First up, we have a girl SMR at Claire's. So this is a new campaign from Claire's where they're redefining their brand mission to build an inspiring playground for modern girlhood. So this was done by the agency We Are Social, and the campaign introduces Claire's Summer Century Shop, the brand's new line of tactile collectibles, by featuring young Gen Alpha girls making classic ASMR content with Claire's new products. What'd you think, Jackson?
I really love this campaign. I think it's so smart, so audience informed, and I think first we need to set some background just to kind of let people know what's going on. So Claire's filed for bankruptcy last year in the US for the second time in 7 years. And this is the first campaign since Claire's was acquired by the investment firm Alms Watson, and the first with the brand new chief brand officer, Michelle Goad, who joined in January from Athleta. Her first mission as a chief brand officer was shifting their audience from more younger girls, 6 to 8, to these tween girls, and really understanding what they want, the modern tween girl, right? Not some past visualization of girlhood that they'd had.
Exactly.
So one quote that I loved from her was saying that girls are going from literal kids shows to being an adult. Yeah. This idea that we've kind of talked about for a long time about girls and kids in general not being allowed to grow up anymore. They're just immediately thrown into the adult world on social media, and they're kind of trying to revive that, trying to bring back childhood and girlhood for these tween girls.
Absolutely. I think Gen Z feels a certain nostalgia and affinity for the brand, but we've aged out. I remember being a 6-year-old girl and being obsessed with going to Claire's and picking out some plastic rings, some hair bows, and some nail stickers, and it was the best afternoon ever at the mall. But that's not me anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. So we've moved on, and they've moved on as a brand to the needs of a different kind of consumer. And you're right. They've backed this entire campaign with a lot of audience insight into who their new audience member is, which is Gen Alpha girls. And it's interesting to watch this shift. It's kind of sad in a little bit, for me, as because I've got so much brand affinity for Claire's. But at the same time, it's also exciting as somebody that's interested in advertising and seeing this shift that they're having. I also love to, Jackson and I have done quite a bit of research about Gen Alpha and their affinity for third spaces as well. They want to be outside, they love going to malls and being in places other than school, and they don't have jobs yet, but then in their homes. And I love how not only did Claire's lean in heavily with a lot of paid social, a lot of just heavy social content that they're pushing out, utilizing these young Gen Alpha girls, they also kind of leaned into the experiential side of things. At select Claire's location, they have ASMR content filming stations for customers to film and share content with their summer sensory shop products, which I think is really fun. They're even hosting some branded pop-ups at like VidCon and events like that, which I think is super cool. And another great avenue to reach this new audience that they found.
Such a smart way to create like user-generated content. To
Absolutely.
Me. Really revolutionary. And I have to say, I love the copy. You can't really tell from just like us saying it. A girl SMR is a girl summer.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't need to explain it, but it took me a second to get it. But once I get it, like, okay.
This is good.
Okay.
This is good.
Okay,
Gets an A+ from the copywriter. Okay, on to our next campaign. We're going to be talking about Modelo. So they're doing this campaign in anticipation for big football summer that we're about to see, the World Cup. But their new campaign is Best Seat in the House. So this is a series of commercials showcasing where fans can watch football. Modelo brings its fighting spirit to life with partnerships with 5 famous players, nationwide in-person activations, and investment in MLS and stadium partnerships. Done by Agency Gray, based in New York. Jackson, what do you think?
I thought this was really smart. I think it really taps into the idea of third spaces that we're seeing so prevalent with Gen Z, and the idea of affordability, right? I mean, while the World Cup is coming, most people can't afford tickets, or they're maybe not living in a city where you can go. Yeah. And just Modelo tapping into this idea that, you can enjoy the peak of football wherever you are with a Modelo in your hand and your friends around you wherever you go.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to encompass the feeling of that you want to get from drinking or watching football. I
was reading this article learning more about this campaign, and Logan Jensen, the vice president of brand marketing at Modelo, had lots of really interesting things to say about this. Similar to what we just talked about with Claire's, they really leaned into the audience insight, kind of like you touched on, Jackson, with this whole kind of tumultuous economic time that we're living in for a lot of people. They leaned into that. He said it's becoming such a meaningful sport with a huge fan base. These fans recognize that it's not always about the experience of being in the stadium, which I think was really interesting. And I love that they leaned into that with this campaign.
Absolutely. And it also really reminded me of the most recent Heineken work. I know we talk about Heineken too much, but that work is all about focusing on like pubs and the life of pubs, even in the US, and bringing that idea of a community space that you can gather at and just have fun and meet people to life. I think it's really the smart direction for beer brands right now that are, you're getting them at a bar. That's where you're going to get them.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, moving on to our last campaign of the ad update, we have Skittles. Imagine a softer world. I do recommend going and watching this one because it's a little hard to describe. So, new Skittles campaign where they are leaning into Skittles gummies. This ad takes the softness of the gummies literally by creating a squishy dream world. So instead of just showing the candy, they use weird tactile scenarios like teens hanging out in a giant furry creature's pouch to make you feel how soft the product is. So instead of the Skittles crunch, it's the Skittles chew, the softness of the gummies. What do you think, Jackson?
This is just classic Skittles. I love this work. One of my favorite ads, maybe of all time, is the Skittles Pox.
Oh, yeah.
You know Skittles. Me and my dad reference that all the time. This is like, if I saw this with my dad, we would reference it for the rest of time.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 3 main spots that they're running right now. So it's the 2 kids in a kangaroo man's pouch. One of them is a guy on a massage table getting massaged by like weird jellyfish alien creatures, and he's like, this is uncomfortably soft. And it's like visceral, it's gruesome, but it's so funny and it's so Skittles, and it makes you just like, I kind of want to pick up a pack and just like...
Exactly. They really leaned into their just like brand identity and brand voice of being a little silly, literalism taken to an extreme. I thought it was great.
And I mean, I guess just to restate, like the Gen Z relevance is that we know Skittles and we can relate to the idea of their uncomfortably quirky, funny ads. And for me, like it reminds me of my dad, and that makes me want Skittles. So
exactly.
How can you beat that?
Exactly. And I think this is a massive push for Mars Wrigley to dominate the gummy category too. That's their obviously holding company and who put together this campaign. It's currently like blowing up with traditional hard candies and like the traditional like what you would think of a Skittle, but they're breaking through this noise with this literalism taken to an extreme, and I think it's really fun. Taps into Gen Z's weird kind of core humor, oddly satisfying a little bit, which we loved. So yeah,
it's a sensory episode.
It is kind of a sensory episode. Now that you say that, yeah, it kind of is. Okay, well, next on to our social trend of the week. So unless you've been living under a rock, which is mostly how our social trends go, John Summit, who huge DJ of our time, this is about him and his Rimowa suitcase. I hope I'm saying that right. Essentially, if you don't know about the Rimowa suitcases, they're really expensive.
Yeah.
They're these like massive silver suitcases, very visual sign of luxury. John Summit has owned, I want to say I heard like 5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah.
Was the number. He travels all the time. Obviously, he's a DJ, so he's going to all these different venues. And almost every time, his suitcase has come out of the luggage carrier completely like battered and broken.
It's so funny. And it's just this instance of what it culminated in was him lighting his suitcase on fire.
Yes.
And
he got a little upset. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. He's been betrayed by the brand 5 or 6 times now. I really couldn't say why he kept going back. It's kind of embarrassing.
And it's also not, because he's going back, it's not like he's not like doing a partnership with them. So it's not like they're sending him one. So he is like making it out to purchase them. And I'm not surprised by like the first or second time he didn't say something.
Yeah.
And they should have like reached out to Brandon to be like, hey, why is this happening? How can we help you? Da, 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 da. But they didn't.
But so he did. He posted it on social, him lighting it on fire. And of course, brands chimed in. PayPal said, John, have you heard of PayPal purchase protection? Adweek said, this is the first item on the agenda of Rimowa's daily stand-up meeting. I was like making sure I pronounced it correctly. But no.
Lily Jackson and I are not buying this $1,500 suitcase. Oops.
I'm sorry. Mine's like $80. Sorry.
My favorite one was Base commented, which is actually the suitcase that I own. They said, I saw this in a dream once, which I thought was kind of funny. So anyways, but we thought this like really resonated with Gen Z. Obviously, John Summit's a figure
Huge,
for them.
yeah.
He's an influencer for them, a DJ that they listen to, all that kind of stuff. But it's the ultimate like de-influencing moment, I think. It's very raw, chaotic, authenticity. It's valued over this prestigious designer logo. I think there was a lot of discussion about how, okay, yes, he's owning this really nice suitcase, and he used to see it as a status symbol, but it's clearly not working for him as a consumer.
Yeah.
So it's another like kind of reminder that even though it's a luxury item, it doesn't need to be a status symbol.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now the ad news. Let's jump in the latest ad and PR headlines from the week. First up, we have Google and Meta's digital ad boom. According to an expose done by the New York Times, Google and Meta are experiencing a digital ad boom due to their implementation of AI tools to automate their marketing. Companies can use AI systems on Google and Meta to develop campaigns, target a specific audience, bid for space, and measure results. Crazy.
No, and we saw this coming.
Yeah,
we saw this coming. It's the AI boom. We knew it was going to happen. Duh. Unfortunately, in some circumstances, AI does work, as we can see. I think there's a lot of cons to this.
Yes.
I think there are also some pros. One thing I thought that was really interesting that the expose from the New York Times highlighted was that this is helping a lot of small businesses. Who would not have necessarily had the funds or like the gusto to hire a huge advertising agency to do something like this. They just had a few like small marketing team, but they're able to use these Google and Meta tools to create these targeted ad placements to then generate more revenue, which I think is really interesting.
It is interesting because those tools that the small businesses are using are the same ones that the biggest corporations are.
Exactly.
Right? It's kind of setting this level playing ground where any brand can succeed. I mean, obviously the one with more money is going to win out on a lot of the space, but it is helping those smaller firms. But to me, it feels like, I mean, okay, I think Wesley Turr Wesley Terhar, who's the chief AI officer at the marketing firm Monks, said it best: "Technology is ready to meaningfully replace manual effort in our industry." Very positive quote from him. A little scary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the first signs that AI really can do a lot of jobs in the advertising industry.
Especially when it's a job that's like rooted in data.
Yes.
In number data.
I mean,
quantitative data.
It makes sense. I mean, AI is going to be able to skim databases, understand what placements are best, better than any human could. They don't have the speed, they don't have the process. Human brain doesn't have the processing power. So
exactly. And I think Gen Z as a whole, obviously, we can expect to see more ads that are personalized in front of our faces. Kind of an unsettling thought for a generation that values authenticity, but we'll see where it goes from here.
We'll see where it goes. All right, moving into our next story. So, Devil Wears Prada 2 is coming out.
Highly anticipated.
I'm excited to see it. I love the first.
Me too.
But so, Tresemme is the signature hair brand of the Devil Wears Prada 2, which is completely unprecedented. There's never been a brand that's really been the official brand of a movie, other than like the Lego movie. Lego. Okay.
I think we've seen like a lot of like brand placements. Like, I mean, I can think of like ones in like 80s movies, like Coke being like the main one.
Yeah.
Oh, Coke can, and the logo is conveniently placed towards the camera. But never a brand like being the entire movie, kind of.
The entire movie.
Yeah.
And obviously this is like typically you see it in sports or sometimes, like you said, in Hollywood. But this is another thing where it's that oversaturation of ads. And, you know, I love ads, obviously, but I think I kind of believe in a little bit, you know, separation of the government and the church. Exactly. Like, I want my ads where I want my ads, and I want to watch a movie. Yeah. I don't want to be bombarded with
I know.
Tresemme.
I think it's like, I don't think Gen Z feels like super lovingly towards intense brand partnerships that seem to keep growing in both a number and intensity, or just like in like levels almost with like major movie releases, not just like small little 30-second influencer video. Now it's a 2.5-hour movie.
And people who have been seeing this movie earlier, just to quote one Gen Zer who saw it, said, "There was a brand deal in every scene, dude. Every scene."
Which is crazy.
I'm nervous because of that, and it's what you expect with something like it's a very over commercialized sequel that's coming out. I mean,
as we've seen,
it's not going to be the first.
You heard that sound? It's battle time. Our next segment is Battle of the Brands, where two brands will go head to head to see who tackled the brief better. Kind of segueing right off our last little piece of news there, we picked two brands that worked with Devil Wears Prada to promote the new movie, two kind of technology-facing brands that Jackson and I both liked. So I'll go into mine first. With Google Shopping. This was a campaign done by 72 and Sunny and obviously 20th Century Studios. They worked together to put together this campaign. And it's a continuation of a series of AI try-on feature that Google Shopping has to choose an outfit. So this was a similar spot was done by Kirsten Dunst and Gabby Union when they got together for like a little Bring It On reunion moment. And so they did the same thing with this campaign. So they tapped Simone Ashley and Stanley Tucci to reprise their roles as Amari and Nigel to use Google's AI try-on feature in the runway closet to pick a dress for an outfit. I thought it was really smart that they capitalized on a campaign that they were already running and that was working for them and that was clearly successful. And then they just organically integrated it into the Devil Wears Prada and how it would make sense for that movie. And Devil Wears Prada wasn't made when Gen Z was the age to watch it, but it's become a symbol of what Gen Z aspires to be. So I think it's smart that specifically they tapped Simone Ashley to be in this ad. She was in Bridgerton, a known face for Gen Z. So they were able to continue something that they were already doing, but also just Gen Z-ify it a little bit, which I thought was really smart.
I thought this was smart. This ad makes a lot of sense to me. You know, you're tapping into this feature that people who care about fashion are going to care about, right? And you're bringing it organically into their world with this film that it's going to be huge in the fashion world, or it's just going to be talked about at least, even if it's not liked. That, you know, if you're using, if the main characters from, the Devil Wears Prada are using this feature where you can try on different outfits, then why wouldn't I?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just smart. I can understand it, and I love Stanley Tucci. Come on.
Who doesn't love Stanley Tucci?
Who doesn't love Stanley Tucci? All right, moving into my brand, Samsung, with their new ad for promoting the Galaxy S26 Ultra phone. So this ad, very tense, very like high pressure moment. Miranda Priestley, of course, demanding an impossible task. So it features Helen J. Shen, who's reprising her role as Jin. And the plot of the ad is all about, she's in a photo shoot, she's doing this magazine shoot, and they need this very specific outfit that Miranda is demanding they have for the shoot, right? And one of the PAs kind of starts to freak out. He's like, how the heck are we going to get this freaking piece of clothing for the shoot? It's like, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
And Jen doesn't break a sweat. She just opens up her Samsung, goes to the Photos app, drags the photo in, circles the little piece of clothing, and then they can order it right from there. It's basically the Google image search, but on Samsung, and it's just integrated into the product. And it's just a smart way to promote this feature, right? And it really organically goes into what the Devil Wears Prada is all about, which is fashion. And it's about those high-pressure moments running a fashion magazine. And then I think it's also important to note that they brought this to life on social, tapping into a lot of different fashion influencers and just different Gen Z influencers, bridging the gap between this movie that, again, it came out before we were really able to care about movies, but it's something that we have grown into caring about. It's something that I feel like when I watch, I don't know, my dad loves it. So I saw it as a kid, and it was like my first peek into what the professional world might be like. This and The Office. Thankfully, it's like neither. But
unfortunately, it's like neither.
Well, I don't know. Bosses are scary. But it just bridges the gap between this world that kind of existed before us, and the social content brings it into modern social trends.
Yeah.
And they continue to use the S26 as kind of the catalyst that helps them, live their life and be popular and do social trends. So it's just a cool campaign. It brings the Devil Wears Prada to Gen Z.
I think with both of these, I think they did a great job at just making it feel like even though you are not in that specific Devil Wears Prada high pressure moment, this is a product that can still be utilized by you as a consumer. I think both did a great job of that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you can let us know which brand you think won this segment of Battle of the Brands by going to our Instagram @theagencyKU to vote on either Google or Samsung. That's all we have for you today. You've been listening to Ad Space by The Agency.
This episode was produced by Brenna Burnett and Joe Bundo, written and edited by the Steam Whistle creative team, sound design and mixing by Wyeth Cooper, camera operated by Madeline Rosen.
Special thanks to our faculty advisor, Dr. Rose. This podcast is a production of Steam Whistle Creative, made possible by the William Allen White School of Journalism and Mass Communications.
To keep up with new episodes, follow us on Instagram @theagencyKU, and don't forget to like, rate, and review. It really helps us out.
I'm Elise.
And I'm Jackson.
And we'll see you next time.
This student-produced podcast is opinions and commentary and does not reflect the views of any organization. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the podcast. Any opinions presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the agency does not endorse, approve, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization represented or mentioned in this podcast. Copyright The Agency 2025, all rights reserved. You may not reproduce, distribute, or modify this podcast without written permission.